What's up, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is going to be kind of a more serious video that I'm making. I'm going to be covering my story with eating disorders and everything that I've gone through with that. So the specific eating disorders that I have been diagnosed with are anorexia and bulimia nervosa. I started off diagnosed with anorexia, which I restricted my diet and would go days to weeks without eating anything or very, very, very minimal. I found myself kind of getting into this my freshman year of high school. I am currently going into my sophomore year of college, so I'm going on about 5-6 years of dealing with this. And I just remember being so overwhelmed with going to a new school, being in high school, that whole experience, and just kind of feeling like really grown up in a stressful situation, different setting, and just being with like these older people, like the seniors. I remember walking through the halls with the seniors and seeing them and just feeling really overwhelmed. At the time, I was feeling really self-conscious with myself and how I looked, and I felt all these pressures to look a certain way. And I feel like a lot of girls are struggling with that, with the way that society is making girls have to look a certain way. And I definitely was feeling that pressure. I felt like I had to be super thin, have all the curves. I couldn't have an ounce of fat on my body. And if I did, I wasn't going to be accepted by my peers. I wasn't going to be looked at by boys. I just had this really general idea that I wasn't going to be accepted by anyone in society, and that I wasn't ever going to live up to anything if I didn't look a certain way. And I realize now that God gave me this body and formed me the way that He wanted me to look. I definitely still have to take care of myself, but I have over the years learned to love who I am and how I look, and it has been quite the journey. But I remember freshman year, I definitely was not in that place. I remember going to lunch freshman year all the time without a lunch. I wouldn't eat the school lunches. I wouldn't have anything. And I remember like every now and then my friends would be like, "Where's your lunch? Why aren't you eating? Did you forget? Do you want some of mine?" And every time I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm okay. I already ate. I'm fine. I'm not hungry." And I think I was just reassuring myself to kind of like, "Oh, you don't need food. Like, you're fine. You're not that hungry. You don't need to eat. You can go a little bit longer." And that was my biggest thing that always kept playing in my head. Like, you can go a little bit longer. Like, a little bit longer is not going to kill you. You're going to be fine. So I kept telling myself that, and that went on for another year and a half. And it was probably towards the end of my sophomore year is when I started hearing the comments like, "Wow, you're getting so thin. Like, have you been working out?" And like, that was a compliment to me. That wasn't good for me, but it was motivation. I remember hearing my parents, like my mom would tell me like, "You're looking really thin, like you're looking a little too thin." And like, again, on the outside I would be like, "Oh really? Like, I didn't notice. Thank you for telling me. Like, I promise I'm okay." But again, on the inside I was like, yes, like, good, like it's working, like I'm losing weight, I'm thin, like I'm looking thin. If other people are noticing, then that's good. Every time somebody said that, I felt a little bit better about myself. I felt like, okay, like I'm finally getting thin enough where I'm gonna look good. All in all, I took those as compliments more than anything, and that is part of having an eating disorder. Like, you don't rationally think, you don't realize that when people say those things, they're not trying to compliment you. I mean, there's sometimes when people say like, "Oh, you look good, like you look like you're fit or whatever," but in reality, you're not actually fit. You're harming your body, and it's really unhealthy. And I didn't realize that at the time, or I might have realized that, but I just didn't care. All I cared about was, okay, I'm losing weight, I'm looking thin, I'm looking good, like people are noticing me, and like they're complimenting me. So the anorexia I struggled with in the beginning, and I still do struggle with it, but it started to morph into bulimia nervosa. And I think I transitioned into bulimia because I was going through a lot of things in my life, emotionally, mentally, physically, and I was going through some trauma that I was dealing with as a kid, and I wanted some kind of control in my life. And yes, there's some control with the restricting and the eating, but I didn't feel like that was enough. So with the bulimia now like coming into like view, I felt in control. Every time I made myself sick, I felt like, okay, Erin, like you're making this decision. You are choosing to do this. Nobody is making you. This is all on you. This is all your choice and your decision. I felt safe. I felt secure. I felt in control. And that was really all I wanted in my life. The worst that it's ever had gotten was my first semester at college. I have always loved being at home. With my health issues that I've had, it was good being at home with like where my doctors were and my family, and I had that support. Having my boyfriend home, where I could call him or call my parents whenever I needed them, and like they would be right there. So my first semester of college, I went to Grand Valley State University, and that was an hour and a half away from home. It was a very hard transition for me. I didn't know anybody there. I was secluded being in the honors college. I was going through a lot of stuff. I felt homesick. I didn't have my parents there. I didn't have Chaz there, my sister, my best friend. And I think what really scared me the most was I didn't have my doctors there. I didn't have anybody there who knew about me, who knew my history with my medical stuff. I was very overwhelmed having to figure out the whole college thing all on my own. And that really took a hard hit on my physical and mental state. I started throwing up every single meal. I would prevent myself from going out with people to go get food because I was terrified of eating. There were times when like I felt obligated to go out with my roommates or other people that I met to go get food, because that was kind of the thing. Like, you go out for food, like you have fun with friends and you go get food, you go get a meal. Every time I did, I was just panicking on the inside because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna go eat food, I'm gonna go consume calories, I'm gonna gain weight. And it scared me. It was not okay for my mental state. So a lot of being at Grand Valley, I stayed home or in my dorm, and I didn't go out. And when I did go out and eat, I would come immediately back to my room after and throw everything back up. So the bulimia kind of took over the anorexia while I was at Grand Valley, because I felt pressured to eat, like I said. So by throwing up everything, I got extremely sick at Grand Valley. I was missing classes. I was bedridden. I couldn't move. I was passing out. I was lightheaded. I couldn't see. My whole body was sore. I just felt so sick, and I didn't have anybody there to take care of me. While I was sick, I didn't have a car or really anybody to drive me to the doctors. And I didn't feel comfortable enough talking to a new doctor, and they didn't know who I was. They didn't know my history with all of this. I didn't want to go to a hospital where I didn't know, and I just felt so trapped and so stuck, and that really put me in a very bad mental state and physical state at that matter, because my body was just shutting down. I probably could have been a little more proactive with going to see a new doctor and facing my fear of having to get to know a whole new person. But I was just so weak and so exhausted at that point that I didn't go and try. So eventually I talked to my parents and I told them how I was feeling and how hard this was for me. And I came home second semester and I started living back at home. I got in with my doctors. And in the beginning of this year, 2018, I was hospitalized just for a few hours, but because I was throwing up so much that my body was shutting down. I had acid reflux. I was burning a hole in my esophagus from all the acid coming up from my stomach. I couldn't swallow. I couldn't eat anything, even if I tried, because there's so much pain in my chest and my stomach. And I had had it. I went crying to my mom, and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. And I told her everything that was going on with me. I told her how much I was throwing up. That was the beginning of my treatment. That was kind of a wake-up call to me that said, Erin, this is not okay. Like, you are in the hospital right now because of this eating disorder. Your body is shutting down. You are not healthy at all. So a little after that, I started seeing a therapist specializing in eating disorders, and it has helped so much. Another wake-up call was when I had gone in with my mom to see her, and she had told me, you are days to weeks from being permanently hospitalized and having to be fed through a tube because you are not functioning how you're supposed to. And she could just take one look at me and know that I was not healthy at all. So that was another wake-up call for me, because I did not want to go to a hospital and be force-fed through a tube. I didn't want to have to do that. And I just kind of broke at that point. I was like, Erin, what are you doing to yourself? This is not okay. Like, take a look at yourself and see what you're doing. And I never realized how bad it had gotten up until that point. Every time I looked into a mirror, I just saw more pounds that I needed to lose. I saw fat everywhere. I just saw a girl that I did not want to be. But now that I've been working through this, it has been 3-4 months, maybe 5, that I've been working on this, and I have been gaining back my healthy weight. It terrifies me, but I know that it's the best for me, and it's getting easier each and every day. At one point, I was down to like 92 pounds, and that is probably the lowest I've ever known that I had been at this age. Especially not growing anymore, that is not a good weight. And that was another point when I realized, like, no, like, this is too low. This is not healthy. So now I am currently up to around 98, 99 pounds. And that terrifies me, but I know that it's where I'm supposed to be. I have continually had the support from my family and my therapist and my boyfriend and my friends. I have people checking in on me all the time, making sure that I'm eating. I have seen a nutritionist. I have seen everything. I have actually been proactive for myself. And that's not to say that even though I'm doing all of that, that I still don't struggle with this. I am still absolutely terrified of gaining weight. I am terrified of losing the control that I feel that making myself sick gives me and restricting my diet gives me. But I am getting better each and every day with accepting that that's not a good thing to do. This is probably going to be a longer video, but I feel like it's important for me to just get it out there and just tell people my story. And hopefully, like, my goal with this is to have somebody out there watching this who can relate to my experience, maybe not on the same level. And I just want to help someone out there who might be going through the same thing that I did. I want to say that it's a continual process of healing. It's not like the moment you decide to stop that everything's going to fix itself and that it's going to be okay, because it's not. Like, there are days when I still find myself purging and trying to throw up and restricting my diet. But each day it gets like less and less and less of me doing that. And I've always told myself, and I've always learned, that relapse is part of recovery. That's not an excuse, but it is okay to remember that it's okay to take a few steps back. That it's not going to be a smooth ride the whole recovery. And I've continually had to tell myself that, and it helps me to not feel guilty and not be too hard on myself. If you are dealing with something like this, please feel free to reach out to me or to your family or to a friend or someone you trust. I have no room to judge. I try to support anybody who's going through anything. I know that your family will care, that your friends will care. Anybody in your life will care that you're going through this. And you don't have to feel alone. I felt alone for so long, and I was so afraid to tell people what I was going through because I didn't want to be looked at differently. But I realize now that people aren't looking at me differently. And if they are, and it's in a way that they want to support me. They look at me differently in a way telling me that it's okay to not be okay, that they are there for me and that they want to see me get better. And my parents have been the most supportive in this, and they tell me every day that they have seen so much progress with me, and that keeps me going. I want to make progress for myself and for everyone around me because I don't want to be like this anymore. I don't want any of you who are going through this or anybody that you know to be going through this anymore. And the first step is to tell someone, to talk to someone. And I know that's going to be so hard because it was so hard for me, but it really is worth it in the end. So I know this is kind of a long video and not the lightest topic, but I wanted to get my story out there. I wanted to reach out to anybody who might need it. So if you guys did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please leave any comments if you had any questions or anything about this video. Please feel free to reach out to me, or please reach out to somebody who cares about you. I know that it's going to be hard and I know it's going to be scary, but take it from me, it is so worth it in the end. And I don't want anybody to go through this. So thank you so much for listening to this video and listening to my story. And I really hope that it touched someone, at least just one person out there. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.